Fox Sports.
We are Black Hawks. We are the Lions.
Well, about an hour ago it was raining, and they're saying there's a chance of that in the forecast, but keep our fingers crossed. Looking pretty good right now. We're at Comerica Park in downtown Detroit, Michigan. The first of two between the Reds and the Detroit Tigers. Hi again, everybody. Alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day, I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball. The big story, of course, yesterday on the off day, we say goodbye, Chris, to a guy that not only played very well for the Reds, but a good man in that clubhouse in Adam Duvall.
Well, I think that reason, Tom, that this ball club is going to miss Adam Duvall, you know, from a chemistry standpoint, from a leadership standpoint, he's a solid guy. He played through some injuries. He was always there when you needed him, but I got to tell you, with a four-man rotation in that outfield, there just was not enough room for everybody to get playing time. The Atlanta Braves wanted him more than the Reds did. We got three players in return, and right now we just wish a lot of luck to Adam Duvall.
All right, now the only one with a big league club tonight would be Preston Tucker. He's a backup outfielder, but the key are the other two guys, starting with Whistler and primarily Lucas Sims.
Well, Tucker's 27 years old, has some pretty good power. Lucas Sims is a little younger guy. He's 24 years old. It's interesting with Sims and Whistler, both of these guys are primarily breaking ball pitchers. The Reds have kind of gone out of their mold of going out to try to get real hard throwers. Remember Travis Wood from a couple of years ago, yep. Blake Wood, that kind of player. So these guys are a little bit better control-wise, good sliders on both of them. However, two of the three players that the Reds picked up are out of options. So they'll find themselves in the same situation the Braves did. One reason why the Braves traded them is they had 40-man roster problems that foreseeing in the offseason, and this is the reason why the Reds were able to get pretty good arms right here.
All right, let's talk about tonight's starting pitcher. Homer Bailey came off the disabled list a few days ago and might have thrown, if not his best game of the year, his second best game.
He was all over the strike zone and on the periphery of the strike zone for Bailey. Nice, easy fastball up to 96 miles an hour. That split finger pitch was a really good one for him the other night. He's pretty much ditched the curveball, picked up the slider. He's throwing the ball very well right now. I've been watching him warm up in the outfield now. Looks like the ball's coming out of his hand tonight very well as well.
All right, when we come back, if you want to know what's going on inside that Reds clubhouse, I mean the inside of the Reds clubhouse, only one man to turn to, and that would be Jim Day. He is all over the Matt Harvey story, who's staying a Red. Stick around. Jim is standing by.
only at your Tri-State Chevy dealer. And by Skyline Chili. Feeling good, it's Skyline time. And by Buick. And welcome back to Detroit, everyone. Rain coming down at the moment, albeit light fashion. But we're set for an on-time start here. Game 1 of 2, Reds and Tigers. Trade deadline came and went, and Matt Harvey is still a Cincinnati Red, which went against what everyone thought, that the Reds acquired him from the Mets to flip him at the trade deadline. It did not happen. Happy, though, is Matt Harvey.
I'm very happy. It's a good feeling to have gotten into a place where I know coming over here there were all the talks about getting flipped right away as soon as things came back, and to be on the other end of that where they want me here. It's nice to know that.
He's had some major surgery. That's two really tough surgeries he went through, and I have a feeling that we haven't seen the best of him yet. You may see the best of him in 19 because as good as he is, he's been feeling better and better, and I think that's an indication that he's still making strides in his recovery.
Now, today was the non-waiver trade deadline. You can still go through the waiver process and be traded in the month of August, although it is a lot harder to do that. He's a free agent at the end of the season, so the future remains unclear, but he's been pitching well for the Reds, and for now, he'll ride it out in a Reds uniform. We'll see what the future holds. The immediate future is back to interleague action. Reds and Tigers. Tom and Chris have the call coming up on Fox Sports Ohio.
Michigan, left-hander Matthew Boyd came over from Toronto in the David Price deal back in 2015. This is his third straight season as part of the Tigers' starting rotation. Since Jim Riggleman took over, the Reds are 2 games now over the 500 mark. And his starting lineup tonight reads as follows. Peraza at short, Irvin now will see a lot of playing time. He's in left, Votto at first, Suarez at third, Jeanette the DH. Barnard catching, Dielson Herrera's at second base, Dixon in right, and Hamilton in center. And what about Matthew Boyd?
Well, he likes his breaking ball an awful lot. He's settled basically on the slider as his #1 off-speed pitch. He'll go from there to the fastball, then his curveball is his third best. So there's a 50-50 chance when you step to the plate, you're going to see a breaking ball from Boyd.
Jose Peraza digging in, and we're set to go in Detroit. First pitch in there is strike one, and this one is underway. Sean Barber calls the balls and strikes. The crew chief is Larry Vanover down at first base. David Rackley, the umpire, at second. And Hunter Wendelstadt is at third. Popped up left side of the infield. That's an easy play for Iglesias. We look at the Tigers on defense, presented, of course, by Ford, based right here in Detroit, Michigan. Jacoby Jones now in center after they traded Martin yesterday to Cleveland, flanked by Gerber and Castellanos. Iglesias was the one they decided would be their future shortstop, and not Eugenio Suarez. He's having a good year. He's a good player, but not having the same kind of year that Suarez has this year, or for that matter, a year ago.
Well, Suarez is batting fourth, and Iglesias is batting eighth. If you need any more than that, I got that too. But Suarez is a guy, you know, that it's interesting how some ball clubs, you know, they think they know a guy real well, and just sometimes you just basically make a mistake. It's certainly not a perfect science.
Well, they've been very pleased with the way Iglesias has played. He's an outstanding defender, but just certainly not the same offensive player that Suarez has become. Although, Chris, you know, I wonder if 4 years ago when you make that deal, if you think Suarez is going to turn into the offensive player he is now.
Well, you know, Tom, I don't think it's as much as you blame the team that gave up the player that turned out to be good. I think you give some credit to the scouts of the team that received him. And it was a good scouting job by the Reds. Let's face it, somebody who made the recommendation to Walt Jocketty and the rest of the front office said, hey, you know, we really believe that this guy down the road is going to be a big league hitter. Now, did they ever believe he was going to do what he did now? I doubt that. But the shot that you just saw right there just goes to show you how you can go a hole to get a whole lot for nothing.
Well, that ball is way up in the air. And handled there by the third baseman, Candelario. Two quick pop-ups along the infield, and that'll bring up Joey Votto with two down and nobody on.
Matthew Boyd is going to get a lot of pop-ups. I mean, his fly ball percentage is way up there among the league leaders, mainly because he pitches right-handers inside, pounds them on the inner part of the plate, never really tries to go down and away to get the grounder.
Joey Votto down strike one, a .289 batter with 9 home runs and 52 runs batted in. The Reds had their way with Boyd in that 2-game series played in Cincinnati back in the middle of June. The Reds had their way with the Tigers. They won those games. We'll play here tonight and an afternoon tilt tomorrow. Swing and a miss by Votto, 1 ball and 2 strikes. In that game in Cincinnati on the 19th, Boyd lasted 4 innings, allowed 6 hits, walked 3, and gave up 5 earned runs. And the big hit in that game came off the bat of Joey Votto. That was his only grand slam, one of 9 the Reds have hit here in 2018. That's tied for most in the big leagues with the Boston Red Sox, and Votto went around, and that will retire the side in order. So now Homer Bailey set to get the ball when we return. The Tigers having a down year. 45 up, 62 down. His lineup reads as follows. Jones, Castellanos, and Goodwin was started. Victor Martinez at DH, Candelario at third with John Hicks at first. McCann the catcher, Iglesias at short, and Mike Gerber just called up from the minor leagues for the third time this year prior to the game tonight to replace Martin, who was dealt to the Indians. Steve Reich one to Jacoby Jones, who with Martin gone will now get regular playing time in center field. Homer Bailey making his 14th start of the year. You felt like from all the way back here in the press box behind home plate and watching Homer Bailey warm up in the bullpen, your quote to me was, boy, that ball's really coming out of his hand.
I tell you, Tom, he's always been a long toss champion. Homer Bailey has, and I just watched him tonight. It looked like he's throwing free and easy, which is when you've had as many injuries as he had in his career, first thing you look at. But the proof is in the pudding, and for that, you've got to be around the corners of the zone. He was like that his last time out. You've got to be able to get your off-speed stuff over. He was very much like that his last time out. And the Tigers don't really give him the challenge of a whole lot of left-handers in this lineup. So this ought to be a good matchup for Bailey.
That's a sign, and the thing you've always said through the years is there can be all kinds of numbers and things you can look at in a computer. But when you played and pitched as many years as you did, a lot of times you can just tell with your eyes. Good breaking ball there. And Jones going on strikes.
Well, I said that he had ditched the curveball, but how about that? He brings it out on the very first pitcher that batter that he faces. Really nice looking pitch, perfect spot.
Last time the Reds saw the Tigers, this young man was tearing it up. Had a monster month of May, hit over 350. Bunch of RBIs and doubles during that month, and had a solid June. But when he was left off the All-Star team, there's some around here that sort of feel like he was so disappointed, because most people would agree, not only here in Detroit but all over baseball, that he was one of the real snubs to not make the American League All-Star team. And here lately in a bit of a funk. That can happen to guys. They're only human.
Oh, that would bring me to the trivia question of the night. Name the Detroit Tiger who was on the All-Star team. Not you, Tom Brenneman, but you who are sitting at home watching this ball game. You would probably never guess that it was Joe Jimenez, a reliever out of the pen. Reds will probably see him in the next couple of games here.
2 down in the inning. Look at the Reds on defense behind Homer Bailey. 2 quick outs. Hamilton flanked by Irvin, and Dixon getting a start in right tonight. Dilson Herrera getting the start at second base. Scooter going to serve as a DH. And Tucker Barnhart hanging the signs. It is interesting to note that when Bailey came back and made that really good start, 6 2/3, allowed only 5 hits and 2 runs to the Cardinals. His first game back, rather than the veteran Barnhart, it was Casali behind the plate in that game. That's why I thought we might see him again here tonight, even though he started on Sunday. Boy, how about the weekend the Reds had? They give up 7 home runs. They get absolutely blasted the first game of that 4-game series against Philadelphia. And they just roar past the Phillies in each of the next 3, including that beautifully pitched game by Luis Castillo on Sunday. Chop foul by Goodrum. It's a young man who spent 7 years in the minor league system with the Minnesota Twins, former second-round draft pick, and he can play anywhere. That's where Ron Gardenhire became familiar with Nico Goodrum. One-two pitch. Ground ball right at the shortstop Peraza, where they had him played defensively, and each pitcher with a 1-2-3 first. Second inning coming up from the Motor City. Off a lengthy road trip for the Reds. 2 in Detroit, 4 against the Nationals beginning Thursday night, ending with a 3-game set against the Mets. Look what the Reds have done since June the 10th. Teams 500 or better, they're 6 games over 500. All told, they're 11 over. This team has just played so well, really going back to the start of May. But when you start the year at 8 up and 27 down, that's a long road to hoe. That one hammered down the left field line by Suarez in his return to Detroit. It's where he broke into the major leagues, and he has a double first base runner for either team.
Well, you just think what it must feel like for Eugenio Suarez to come back and play in Detroit here, and you know, all the emotions that he's got going on, the kind of year that he's had in Cincinnati representing the Reds in the All-Star game. And now you come back to the place that, you know, basically decided that you weren't the guy. And he just continues to have that beat roll right along for him.
So Scooter Gennett will get the job done. It's a productive out, advancing Eugenio down to third. So a runner at third with 1 out in the inning. So now it's up to Tucker Barnhart to get that runner in from third. Boyd delivers strike 1 on the inside corner. Chris pointed out in that very first inning, and certainly something to follow the rest of the night, the frequency with which Boyd will pitch inside. You just don't see many guys in baseball doing that, whether they're hard throwers or not hard throwers. Infield in for the Tigers. Straightaway center. They take the chance here.
Sure.
Here
Make him
comes
throw you out.
Suarez, and here comes the throw. It is right on the button. Inning over. Doesn't get any better than that. Very short center field, but the Reds, hey, make a play. And Jacoby Jones did. more. RBI Baseball 18 now available. Go to RBIGame.com. Rated E for everyone. Scoreless game, bottom of the second from Comerica Park in downtown Detroit. Victor Martinez, we did not see him when the Tigers came to Cincinnati because he is used exclusively as a designated hitter. He's not had a good year. He's had some good games here over the last week or so, but just a .243 batter. 6 home runs, 35 batted in, a 5-time American League All-Star back beginning with Cleveland, 3-time All-Star with them, 1 time with Boston. But it's now 4 years ago since he was an All-Star for these Tigers.
4 years ago, he was 35 years old. So when you're pushing 40 like Martinez is, I mean, you've got to be happy for little things. And that's what he's been doing here since the All-Star break, mashing the ball.
Irvin took a funny route to start it, but able to recover in time. Hard hit ball. Irvin has been playing almost exclusively right field since being brought back up from the minor leagues.
Well, when you're in a position that Phillip Irvin is in, you'll take it no matter where they pencil you in the lineup, and he's a good enough athlete to adjust to that bad route. But I think that one of the things the Reds really want to do, they want to find out now, you know, which of these guys can really play. It's one thing showing in the month of March what you do in Goodyear, Arizona. It's another thing during the regular season when big leaguers are grinding it out against you. What can you do at the plate? Can you play good enough defense to be, you know, a starter on a ball club? Are you going to be a backup guy, or are you a AAA or a 4A guy? And the only way you find that out is you give him playing time, and I think that's what the Reds are trying to do here with the injury to Winker. You're going to see Phillip Irvin a lot, and maybe Brandon Dixon a lot.
Well, of course, they're still waiting on Scott Schebler. He injured his shoulder going all the way back to that series just before the All-Star break in St. Louis. He's been down at AAA Louisville. He's been able to bat, but they want to see that he can throw the ball. Good pitch there by Bailey. That just ate up Candelario. And Suarez to get it. Fox Sports Ohio has a great offer for you to see the Reds at Great American Ballpark, and it's available only tonight. Tickets in the Kroger bleachers, $10 for the games against Arizona and the Cleveland Indians. A savings of up to $8 per ticket. All right, now here's what you do. Go to Reds.com/FS, as in Fox Sports, FS Ohio, tonight, and get in on this great ticket offer. After this long trip, it will be the Arizona Diamondbacks and the Cleveland Indians coming to Cincinnati. A couple of good teams. By the time Arizona gets there, it might be a couple of first-place teams, because Cleveland will be in first when they get there, barring a total collapse. Arizona is just a half game behind the Dodgers right now in that very tight National League West. Colorado only 1 back. Who you like in that division, Chris? Anybody you like among the three?
It's varied. You're talking about the National League West, I presume.
Yeah.
You know, with the way the Dodgers have, you know, just continued to add on to their ball club, that's hard for me to think that they're going to miss.
That ball lined into center field, and Hamilton there, and it's 6 up, 6 down for Homer Bailey. Nothing game. We're off to inning number 3.
I talked to him on the phone. But he's one of those guys that, man, I'm happy for him, and like he's going to a team that's in the playoff running. So like I said, I hope he does well, and it's something that like you don't want to give away one of your brothers. But like I said, on the inside, you know, it's best, what's best for him is always good. And like I said, me and him been playing together for a long time, and became real close. Like I said, all the arguing the fake arguing that we did, that everybody here understood us. They knew we was arguing, we wasn't serious, and it's just something that I'm a miss, man.
And that's the business side of baseball, gentlemen, that friends come and friends go, and those two argued like brothers, did Hamilton and Duvall. And Billy said he was almost near tears when he talked to him last night. On the flip side, he was one of those guys that was clock watching earlier here today and was thankful that he was out there in trade rumors, but he remains a Red and said he would like to be a Red for the rest of his career, so he was thankful in that regard.
That's great stuff. I mean, you know, we said it before the game. If you want to know what's going on down in the Reds clubhouse, we talk about it all the time. Whether it's, you know, the X's and O's, so to speak, or some of the numbers, Jim Day's got that covered. But it's far, far deeper than that. It's the emotional side, the human element side, that Jim is able to coerce out of. Coerce is a wrong word. It just is able to share. Times with so many of these Reds, going back to the Brandon Phillips of the world and Joey Votto, and even in short order a guy like Matt Harvey before the game today. One ball and one strike on Brandon Dixon. And that one chopped foul.
You know, Tom, we've already talked about tonight a couple of the guys that the Reds obtained in a trade that happened in December of 2015 that brought Peraza and Schebler and Brandon Dixon over. That was a deal, the three-team deal with the Dodgers and the White Sox for Todd Frazier. Not all deals work out, that you end up trading basically, you know, for three prospects at that time. And you have to say that Schebler, Peraza, and Dixon were all prospects at that time. And now you're going to find just a few years later, you know, all on the same big league team. Rare that that happens.
I want to ask you, though, Chris, because, you know, what the Reds were going to do or not going to do at the trade deadline. Look, the one thing you can consistently count on with the Reds front office, whether it was Walt Jocketty, and certainly he has such incredible influence as Dixon has gone on strikes, on the current regime, right? You know, all those guys work for him, and Dick Williams and Nick Kroll. They always did a great job of keeping everything completely under wraps as to what they are going to do and not going to do. So whatever was written or said was complete and total and utter speculation. Having said that, are you surprised the Reds weren't more active at the trade deadline? Maybe it's not fair of me to ask you that question.
I don't know what's out there. I mean, the question you have to ask is, what are you going to get in return? I mean, how diminished is the value of Matt Harvey based on, you know, all that he's been through the last few years? Are there teams out there knocking on the door? I'm sure that's who you were talking about, probably. I mean, you know, if the Reds were knocked over by a potential deal, I think they would have taken it. If they would have been knocked over by a deal for, say, you know, Raisel Iglesias, perhaps you've got to do that. But we don't know, because we're not on the inside. Right. We're not talking to other general managers saying, would you give me this guy for these guys? And a lot of times when you're trading for lower level prospects, you don't know for years whether you made a good deal or not.
High fly ball by Billy Hamilton. Tell you, when we come back, I'm going to pick Chris's brain, though, about the Milwaukee Brewers. There's a team trying to go for the jugular. Today, leading up to the deadline at 4 o'clock. Let's start with Chris Archer. There are rumors about him coming to the Reds. Now he's with the Pirates.
That was a very interesting trade right there. The Pittsburgh Pirates gave up a lot. I mean, some Meadows, they give up Glass now, and also a player to be named later. Wilson Ramos coming from the Rays. That's really going to help the Phillies from behind the plate. Jonathan Shoup, we're talking about the Brewers. He comes over from the Orioles. That gives the Brewers a lot of infielders. And Brian Dozier coming from the Twins to the Dodgers. That is a really good move, I think, by the Dodgers, and will help them considerably.
Tigers bat here in the last of a third of a scoreless game. Back-to-back perfect innings for one Homer Bailey, and he will face McCann to begin this Detroit third. 1 ball, 1 strike. You know, you look at the Brewers, and I started to talk about them before we went to the commercial break. They made the big deal for Moustakas. And they're going to play him at third, and they had made the decision they were going to move Travis Shaw over to second base. Now, are you hurting yourself defensively at second? There's no doubt about it. Then they turn around today. And as you mentioned, the deal they make with Baltimore. That's a lot of infielders, Chris, and mighty good offensive players on one team.
Well, consider, though, the first part of it is the guy that they just traded for, Jonathan Shoup, is basically a second baseman and second baseman alone. So he's got that spot. The other guys you may be, able to move around a little bit. They no longer have Jonathan VR. He was part of that deal going the other way. But, sometimes it puts a manager in a tough predicament when you have players that are good players, but they're duplicates for your positions. And how do you divvy out playing time? Because the guys want to win, obviously, but they also want to play. And if they're coming over from a situation where they're not playing, and they're playing every day, then all of a sudden they're riding the bench, you don't know how they're going to react to that.
Good point. And as you said many times, those are the things you only see with your eyes.
I say Shoup, it's really Scope. So I mispronounce his name. But the same thing you may want to speculate about with Adam Duvall, coming from Cincinnati, playing now almost every day, and now getting into a situation in Atlanta. He may be more of a platoon player against left-handers down there.
Well, they're talking about, we were talking about it at dinner tonight, where they're talking about, NCarte has struggled so mightily. That ball is hit pretty well into left field, but this ballpark plays pretty big out there, and especially in right center. Especially when the weather is cool, and make no mistake about it. I mean, wherever we go, outside of a stop here or a stop there, maybe 4 or 5 days here, 5-7 days there, we continue to have very cool temperatures during these summer months. It's in the 70s here tonight. Now, when it's hot, the ball to left will fly in this ballpark. Straight away center field. How about Homer Bailey? Let's not forget, Chris Welsh made the point before we got started watching him long toss. That ball was really coming out of his hand. Place to be this season is a Kroger Bleachers at Great American Ballpark. That's out under the main scoreboard there on the left. For tickets, visit Reds.com. All right. No score. We've played 3 at Comerica Park. Reds have the top of the order. Each team has sent the minimum number of batters to the plate through the front 3 innings.
And only the Reds have the base hit. It was a double by Suarez, who was thrown out trying to score. Both pitchers come into this inning having thrown exactly 31 pitches in 3 innings.
How about that? Second straight pop-up by Peraza, crossing into foul ground. Iglesias.
You know, if you want to compare the style of pitching that Matt Boyd has out there, a left-hander that continually tries to pound right-handed hitters inside, Al Leiter is the guy that comes to mind. Now, Leiter threw harder, and they say he had a real heavy ball that would just come in right on your fists. But you know, Boyd is that same style, slightly across his body with his delivery, and that helps the ball cut into right-handers. It also helps you throw your breaking ball a little bit better.
So now the batter is Phillip Ervin. He popped up to the third baseman his first time up. Down the left field line. This will be extra bases for Ervin. So a double by Suarez back in the second, and now a double by Ervin here in the fourth.
And both the doubles off the same pitch in the same spot. You know, he missed going down and away with a breaking ball. Tried to get this one inside a little bit more. And Ervin was right there with a nice swing to line it down the left field line.
Joey Votto turns out of the way and takes ball 1.
I mean, that's the way you turn out of a ball that's coming on the inner part of the plate. So many times now you see hitters that are so committed, their front shoulders are already flying open that they can't get out of the way of that pitch.
That ball is in the air to right field, hit very well, and it's up against the wall by Votto. They're going to hold Ervin at third base and a throw in not in time. So even though Votto has a double, like he's staring down there at Ervin. Ervin waited a long time.
I think it was just a bad read by Ervin on where that ball was, where the outfielder was, and even Billy Hatcher's explaining it to him down there right now, saying, how can you not be standing in the dugout right now? This ball is just smashed, and Ervin is actually going back to the bag. You only do that when you think that there's going to be a can of corn. When you know the outfielder is going to catch the ball, that's when you go back to the bag. Otherwise, you go at least halfway so that if the ball does get away from the outfielder, you easily score.
So back-to-back doubles, and you have him at second and third with 1 out. Big at bat here for Suarez, who doubled down the left field line his first time up. Ball 1. Say a very important series opening tonight in Pittsburgh. Pirates are just 7 games behind the Cubbies, and that is the first of 3 in Pittsburgh. 1-0 delivery. If the Pirates find a way, Chris, 2 out of 3 or even a sweep, you are very much back in the hunt. I mean, at 7, you're in the hunt, especially with a wild card.
Sure.
But Pirates making that deal today to acquire Archer from Tampa Bay. They have Jamison Tyone on the mound tonight. Suarez fouls it off. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Just trying to look ahead, Tom, to see if Archer might be pitching in that series. I don't see him in there right now. I see the Cole Hamels will be pitching for the Cubs tomorrow.
When was the last time that Archer pitched? You able to figure that out? Because they might not have him, necessarily as a scheduled starter yet. If that was
yeah, you know what? It looks like he would be the scheduled starter on Thursday.
Okay.
But the Pirates have not made that official, and Suarez doesn't like that at all.
That's a big strike 3 call right there to Suarez. You be the judge.
Pitch number 4. Boy, oh boy, that was a marginal pitch there.
Up to Scooter Gennett if the Reds are going to get on the board. Saw the home plate umpire Sean Barber shaking his head. No, that's strike 3. Second and third, 2 out. Scooter way out in front. He bounced out to the second baseman, which was a productive out. After Suarez led off the second inning with a double, he got him down to third, but the Reds had Suarez thrown out at the plate on a very short pop up to center field, and Jones made the catch and threw him out at the plate. Well, what is going on tonight in D.C.? Hopefully that doesn't mean they're going to get going. They're in the second inning, and the Nationals have a 10-0 lead over the New York Mets. Hey, by the way, Jesse Winker had surgery today to repair that torn labrum in his right shoulder. And the Reds announcing they certainly expect him to be ready for spring training in February. Here's a pitch.
Well, we wish Jesse a lot of luck in his recovery there. I know that having had shoulder surgery, he'll be sleeping in a lazy boy for the next 30 days. So anywhere you can get some shut eye, you get it. Now they're going with the breaking ball against Scooter Gennett. The interesting thing that I find from that is that Gennett and Suarez are among the 2 leaders in Major League Baseball in the number of home runs they have hit this year, either on sliders or curveballs. Each of them have 10 homers on that pitch.
Two balls and 2 strikes on Scooter Gennett. Broken bat, pulled it foul. Well, coming up later on, presented by Miller Lite, we'll have our whole true moment. Who knows? This might be it. Scoreless game in the 4th inning, and Gennett with runners at second and third, 2 outs. Really did a nice job with these 2 venues in downtown Detroit. They have 3 of them, the hockey team too, but the 2 right next door to one another. Comerica Park for the Tigers, and well, what a beautiful place Ford Field is, the home of the Detroit Lions. 2-2, and we're still waiting.
Well, Matt Boyd may be thinking, hey, you know, this is maybe one of the bigger pitches of the night here, or at least a couple next batters. The way that Homer Bailey's throwing the ball. Hey, you give up a base hit right here, you're down by 2, and maybe just too much to come back from.
Scooter started, did not go around. That's on the appeal down to Hunter Wendelstedt. This is where Gennett has been rock solid all year long, delivering huge 2-out hits.
You know, hitters don't get called on the swing as much on a low pitch as they do on the high pitch.
Threw him the same breaking ball, and Gennett draws a walk to load him up for Barnhart. Tucker had a chance with a runner at third and one out his first time up, and he was the one that hit that pop fly ball in center field that was caught by Jones. Jones then threw out Suarez at the plate, so another big chance for Tucker. Strike one on the inside corner.
Well, Boyd does not get very many ground balls. He's only about a 38% ground ball pitcher, which is really a fly ball guy. But he needs one right here, and Barnhart trying to figure out a way to get another one into the outfield. Maybe this time a little deeper. I mean, way deep.
Fastball in, 1 ball, 2 strikes. Bases loaded, 2 outs, 1 and 2 on Tucker Barnhart. And that breaking ball sweeps down and in to even the count. Big pitch coming up. Down to third. The force play will end the inning. Reds leave them loaded. Still no score.
Dick Williams talking about the trade deadline, and the Reds' only move was Adam Duvall, who's now an Atlanta Brave. And Adam was and is a class act through and through, a true pro to deal with, soft-spoken guy, good in the clubhouse, pride of Louisville. And of course, he went to social media today to thank everyone. It's been a wild 12 hours, he said. First off, I'd like to thank the Reds organization for giving me a chance to play the game that I love. Next, to the fans of Cincinnati, I'd like to personally thank you for making my stay in Cincinnati a good one. You guys showed a lot of love, and I will never forget it. And next, he'd like to thank his teammates. You guys made it so much fun to show up in the ballpark every day and compete, and I'm going to truly miss you guys. To the trainers, strength coaches, and everyone behind the scenes that kept me on the field, I am very grateful. Again, class act. That guy will miss him. We'll miss him, and we'll wish him the best of luck.
Jim, help me here for a second, if you don't mind. That's popped up. Now, I am not, you know, the social media guy. Guys downstairs, put that graphic back up a second of that last part of that. Is that Twitter?
That's Twitter.
All right. So he was with a team already. He was on the plane yesterday when he found out about the deal. Because I thought I saw at the bottom of that it was sent out of a location in Michigan. Is that? Am I reading that wrong down there?
Romulus.
No, yeah, he was on the team plane. He came to Detroit yesterday with the Reds.
Okay.
And then the deal was made late last night, well into the evening, so he had to travel today.
I just didn't know if he had a chance to maybe get out late last night. It's a big airport here, and you know, all that kind of thing. But we will miss him because you, Jim, you hit the nail on the head. I mean, this guy, top shelf, man. His mom and dad, they did it right because he's a good man. Homer Bailey, 11 up, 11 down to begin the night in this scoreless game. Boy, look at that pitch count. Are you kidding me? Number 38 for Bailey. And that ball's in the air into deep right center field. That's a long way. And it's out of here. Home run, Nico Goodrum.
Boy, hit it a long way. A fastball pretty much center cut the plate right there. And Goodrum just gives this a long ride. You know, that right field fence kind of juts way out in the corner, right where Dixon is chasing that ball. It's one of the bigger parts of this ballpark.
Now, when you get out into that area where that ball just cleared a very high wall, not only a long ways from home, but an extended wall up there in right center field, and then you go all the way into center, which is 420 feet in this ballpark. And then you go into the deepest part of left center and even regular depth of left center. Spacious.
Well, in the words of many old wise pitching coaches, you want to kill a rally? Hit a home run.
Swung on and fouled off. So the perfect game, the no-hitter, the shutout, all gone on one crack of the bat from Nico Goodrum.
His pitch count's still good.
One ball and 2 strikes, 41 pitches in the game for Bailey, and Martinez waiting. Struck him out swinging, and that will retire the side. Only one base runner, but he touched them all. 1-0 Detroit.
League Pitcher of the Week. Last week, 2 starts, 1-0 record, 1.29 ERA. And look at his last 8, 6-1 record and a sub-2 ERA. And another thing that Jim Riggleman and Dick Williams were talking about earlier this afternoon was the 6-man rotation that the Reds have going. And everyone assumed they were going to trade Matt Harvey. And now what do? Do you stick with a 6-man rotation? They said not sure, because it does limit you. You have one less bullpen guy when you have 6-man rotation. So they will convene in Washington and sort that all out, because they do want to give some guys at AAA like Robert Stevenson a chance to make big league starts the rest of the way.
Well, you know, that's a very interesting topic, because Chris, I got to tell you, as Dilson Herrera will drop one into center field, a base hit to begin the inning. Look, they've had a lot of ups and downs with Robert Stevenson in his professional career, his minor league career, came to the big leagues. He had a stretch where he was awful, couldn't throw the ball over the plate, had a real nice stretch at one point last year. But Chris, here you are, you're getting into the month of August. And I don't know if the Reds can say definitively on any of these young pitchers that they think they are X, Y, or Z. But they certainly can't say they're definitive one way or the other about Robert Stevenson. And there are 2 months left in this baseball season.
Well, I think you've got to give him a chance to pitch in the big leagues. And the only way you find out that answer is to see what he does up here. I mean, pitching in AAA is one thing, and it's good that he goes through a run like he's been right now, and he's throwing the ball extremely well. But sometimes you have to wait for your opportunity, and he's been given one after another opportunities, and just because you get hot over a month doesn't mean all of a sudden I deserve to get called up to the big leagues.
That's the thing that has made these last couple of years, in my opinion, so very, very difficult for the Reds. I think it's completely hamstrung them on so many levels, is really the opportunities. And you were the guy that used to say this over and over. If you were a young pitcher, and if there is any organization that you would want to be with over these last 2 or 3 years to get a chance with a big league club, it was the Cincinnati Reds. And guys like Stevenson and Cody Reed, and there are others to a far lesser extent, that whether it was ineffectiveness as Dixon has gone on strikes, or whether it was injury, whatever the case may be, these guys have watched 2 or 3 years go by and completely missed the boat.
You never know when those opportunities will begin to dry up, and the organization hopes that the opportunities dry up sooner than later. That means you're getting better. So now that Matt Harvey's taking a spot, Homer Bailey's throwing the ball extremely well, Luis Castillo is throwing the ball extremely well. You know, now you look around, you've got a 6-man rotation. So until something happens there, there's no room at the end for Robert Stevenson. He will not be the first pitcher in the minor leagues to pitch really well for several months in AAA and not get called out.
All right, let me ask you this, okay? And we don't know. At the end of this year, because, you know, you and I were maintaining all along, don't bet the ranch that Harvey was going to be traded. We both said that. We thought there was a chance he would, but we also both said, don't take that for granted. That's not a slam dunk, and it turned out it's not. But here is the question. If you don't think you can sign him next year, are you going to let him start every 5 or 6 days over the last month of the season instead of finding out on guys that you might have next year, i.e. Stevenson?
Well, you know, there's 2 ways to look at that, Tom. I think number one is that if we were going to simply stick him out there just because, then we would have traded him and just taken whatever you get in return. The Reds are waiting for something valuable in return, because I think that they feel that he's an integral part of what the success has been in the last few months for the Reds. And they don't want to see that momentum go the other way. I mean, you're building kind of a momentum to get to 500 so that next year at 2019 you're in a much better position to move a step forward. And, you know, I don't think they're going to bench Harvey and let Stevenson pitch. He's had his chance to do that. You know, now you got to wait for your opportunity.
Okay, that's good stuff. Billy Hamilton strikes out on a pitch up around his neck.
I think that's one of the other reasons why the Reds didn't make any more deals, why they didn't trade Raisel Iglesias.
Sure, I'm with you on that.
Or any of the other guys that may have been inquired upon, because, you may argue, well, Homer Bailey's not going to be here the next time the Reds are really good in maybe a year or 2 or 3 from now, right? When they're really building and they got this longer window of opportunity open, Bailey might not be around here. Harvey may not be around here, but the momentum that you're building right now is what you're trying to continue with, and I think they're a big part of that.
Well, I tell you what, after that 8-27 start, and is everything perfect? Obviously it's not. But when you've watched the Reds for better than 3 months of baseball now, playing the way they have, I don't think there's any reason in the world not to believe that you would have a chance with the right move here and there, and it's not a ton, to be a contending team next year.
Well, the moves basically have to be get yourself a starting rotation that you can depend on and have some players down in the minor leagues, pitchers, that can fill in when you have some injuries. I mean, you're looking at a guy right here in Jose Peraza. Finally this year, it seems like the light has come on for him. I mean, he's batting up around 290. He's getting on base. He's been really good at the top of the lineup as far as on base percentage goes. He's been right in the middle of the resurgence of this Reds ball club. Plays good defense. So you're looking at a team that is beginning to kind of get to their peak plateau. And they're going to stay at that level for the next few years. There's no reason to believe that Suarez is going to have ups and downs in his career. He's going to hit at a certain level, which is a high level, for the next few years. You hope Peraza does the same thing. Votto has been there for a long time. Jeanette has shown himself to be there as well. So now you've got an opportunity to get your bolster up some pitching. This ball club's as good as anybody around. The reason I think that Boyd is paying so much attention down there to Herrera is that he has given up 14 stolen bases, and they have only thrown out 1.
And Herrera has a huge lead over him. Now, one thing we have not seen Jim Riggleman do much, I mean, you have 2 outs in the inning here, but we have not seen him much do a lot of hitting and running in situations and personnel that, would warrant. You and I talked about it a little bit a week and a half ago, in times where they've had, say, Hamilton at first base and Peraza at the plate. We haven't seen any of that. Popped up 3rd straight time Peraza's popped the ball up. And the inning is over. 1 hit, 1 left. Bottom of the 5th, around the corner. 1-0 Detroit in front. Ford dealer. Ford, go further. And by Cincinnati Children's, now ranked number 2 in the nation among all children's hospitals by U.S. News and World Report. Well, the Reds in Fox Sports Ohio would love to wish a happy birthday to Verna Mae Rhodes from Centerville, Ohio, just south of Dayton. Yesterday, Verna Mae Rhodes turned 99 years young. An avid Reds fan her entire life. Loves watching Reds baseball. Chris, I'm sure she's dialed in tonight. So Verna Mae Rhodes from Centerville, OHIO. Happy birthday, young lady. And we're looking forward to announcing your birthday hitting the century mark on July the 30th, 2019. Good Lord willing. That's a foul ball. Tigers have one base runner against Homer Bailey. And that was a home run by Nico Goodrum with 2 outs in the 4th. Only run for either team tonight. Candelario, the third baseman, a 1-2 count. Breaking ball appeared to come spinning away out of the fingers of Homer Bailey.
Candelario, a young guy that was over with the Chicago Cubs, completely blocked by his progress by Chris Bryant ahead of him. He came over to the Tigers last year midseason, had a very good run of it. This really his first full season in the major leagues, and you know it's going to be ups and downs. Started off hot and he's cooled down a little bit lately. Only 24 years old.
In the air down the left field line, and that'll drop foul. Again, Fox Sports Ohio giving you a chance right now to get tickets for the series against Arizona or Cleveland or both. Kroger Bleacher tickets, $10. That's a savings of up to $8 per ticket, but you have to go to reds.com/FS Ohio tonight to get in on this great ticket offer. Down the left field line and again out of play.
You know, Tom, we were talking a little bit earlier about Suarez coming back here to Tiger Stadium for the first time and being an all-star for the Reds this year. You know, the Tiger fans, when they saw that, had to be reminded that he's not the only former Tiger that was in the all-star game this year. In fact, they've got 4 of them overall. J.D. Martinez, Max Scherzer, Suarez, and Justin Verlander. And you start picking apart the trades that sent them away, and there's nobody on this big league roster right now that came in return for any of those 4 players going the other way. Not yet, anyway. The young kids they got in the Verlander deal are still down in A-ball and AA.
Gone swinging Candelario, and he's out number 1 here in the 5th inning. 3rd strikeout for Homer tonight.
That looks like the split finger fastball that Bailey threw so well in his last start. Just a super effective pitch against left-handers.
Bouncer down to 3rd. Suarez will throw out John Hicks. 2 down. wonder if this is a song that James McCann actually picks out as his walk-up music. I mean, that is one of the all-time great Motown tunes. Of course, Motown right here in Detroit, all the incredible music that came out of this town. And that tune, Jimmy Mack, When Are You Coming Back? And of course, he is James McCann.
Mm-hmm.
That's a big league song. Haven't heard that in a while. We are told that he was actually, that was Martha and the Vandellas, by the way. Thank you. But we are told that he was actually talked into that. But hey, for most of the people that are paying the money to come to the game, they'll remember that tune.
Well, you would never mention it if it was a song of his own choice.
Well, it all depends on what it is. I mean, it just all depends on what it would have been. But you're right. Jimmy Mack does stand out because you just don't see with the players and their ages now that you wouldn't suspect them or expect them to pick a song going back to the 1960s.
That would be their grandparents' era.
That's right. That's exactly right. We're old enough to be their grandparents. Well, there's a hiccup for Bailey. He's not walked about her all night long, and that's a 2-out 4 pitch walk to McCann. And now a quick message from Miami Valley Gaming.
Get ready to get lucky.
One and one on Jose Iglesias, and he's tardy on that. Homer Bailey, 94-mile-per-hour fastball, and fouls it away. Reds will have Urban, Votto, Suarez. That was a group that produced double walk, but the Reds left them loaded back in that fourth inning. That trio to start the sixth, trailing 1-0. Bailey may have caught a spike. He had a funny little hop or rolled an ankle or something like that as he followed through with that pitch. Take a look. Yeah, that left foot slipped. Dielson to his left will throw out Iglesias, and that's all for the Tigers in the fifth. We go to the sixth, a 1-0 Detroit lead.
Baseball brought to you by T-Mobile, and you guys were talking about the game, the Nationals and the Mets. Daniel Murphy, 2-run home run. A 2-home-run game for him. He has 6 RBIs in the game. It's 13-0 in the 4th inning. And 6 of the 9 batters in the Nationals lineup have at least 1 RBI. They all had a hit before inning number 2. It is just a steamroll of a game, Nationals and Mets, and that's where the Reds head next to play the Nats.
Yes, they do, and they're going to see Max Scherzer. It was just announced a short while ago. They'll see him on Thursday night. 14-game winner and the ace of the Nationals. First pitch swinging to begin the 6th inning is Urban, and that's a weak pop up into short right field, 1 out in the inning.
Yeah, that's not the only weak pop-up of the night. In fact, the Reds have had 7 or 8 of those that have just been basically pop-ups to the infield or cans of corn. One that wasn't, though, was the one that came off of Joey Votto's bat his last time up. Rocket shot off the right field wall.
And that was a misread by the runner out at second base, Irvin. And he was only able to advance to third on the double. And the Reds wound up leaving the bases loaded in the 5th inning.
Yeah, the way the Boyd pitched out of that inning, though, he got to figure that he feels like he earned it. There was a questionable strike 3 to Suarez that got the 2nd out for the Tigers. Jeanette walked, and then Barnhart hit into a ground ball fielder's choice, and that's been really the only scoring opportunity for either team.
It's a good looking breaking ball right there. Real good one.
Very similar to the breaking ball that Joey Votto hit a home run grand slam off of. We showed you that highlight earlier, and I was kind of waiting for Boyd to drop that breaking ball back in there again on him. And again. You know, half the thing with Joey Votto is because he's so prepared, and if he's looking for the pitch you give him, chances are he's going to hit a hard ball somewhere. So you try to go through your pitches and click onto something that he's not expecting. I doubt that he was expecting back-to-back slow breaking balls in the same at bat off of Boyd.
Three balls, 2 strikes now on Votto with the bases empty and 1 out. In the air right field, this will be playable for Castellanos, 2 down.
Hey, you know what happens when the Reds come to Detroit, don't you?
No.
Especially this year, because this is the 50th year.
Oh, I know where you're going.
We celebrate the year of the pitcher. And who better to celebrate that with would be John Warden.
You got it.
Cincinnati's own John Warden. Of course, Detroit claims him for that great year that he and Danny McClain had together in '68.
A left-hander.
Yeah. 35 wins, was it, John? 35-7 combined.
That's right. That's getting it done, that duo.
Yeah.
That's right.
Good to see John Ward.
Great seeing you, John. Absolutely. Up at Indian Hill all those years. All over town. And always with a smile on his face. Great to see him up here in Detroit.
Does a lot of good charity work.
Yes,
now. In
he
fact,
does.
He's organizing a golf tournament. I think it's going to be right in around the beginning of October. The Major League Baseball Players Alumni Association. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, that'll be at the Oasis Golf Club. And
it's a nice place up in Loveland.
You can get online and check that out, and John will be glad to have you.
Ground ball down to third, and that will be all for the Reds. Well, he goes right through Irvin, Votto, and Suarez without breaking a sweat. 1-0 Detroit. by Great American Insurance Group. Visit Reds.com. Was back-to-back starts now, and granted, we're in the 6th inning. But Bailey, in his 2 starts since coming off the disabled list, has looked really good.
Well, they only went 6 2/3 his last time out. As it turned out, I think that game ended up going extra innings. The Reds took a 4-2 loss. But you're right. I mean, once you get on a little bit of a roll right here, you get good feel of your breaking pitches. Your arm feels healthy. And obviously it does, because he's throwing 96 with very little effort.
One ball and 2 strikes. And that sails high and away. Gerber, the number 9 batter, and then back to the top in Jones and Castellanos. And Gerber out of there on strikes. That's now 4 of them for Homer tonight.
Yeah, that one came on the off-speed pitch. Gerber goes down swinging up over the top of that one, and Bailey's been like that. I mean, the breaking ball has looked good. He has had very few very hard hit balls. And there's that little change-up split finger fastball. He gets a couple of strikeouts right there, mainly against lefties with that pitch. Well, he can't get the ball and get back on the mound fast enough. I mean, when you're feeling really good, this is the pace that you want to continue as a pitcher.
Nice play by Herrera. And he will throw out Jones. 2 up, 2 down. It's only the 2nd start we've seen from Herrera. Both of those have come during interleague play when they've used Jeanette as a designated hitter.
Nicely done. Hey, the other thing you may have seen at the very beginning of that play, I don't know if we can get back and show you that, but I don't know if you like this configuration here at Tiger Stadium, Tom, or Comerica Park, but behind home plate, it's normally a circle right here, right? But here at Comerica Park, it's in the shape of a large home plate. And I'm trying to think if there are any other ballparks, major league parks out there that have that same shaped cutout. It really doesn't matter, except when a batter may be called for abandonment, didn't think the catcher dropped the 3rd strike. He starts walking back to the dugout. As soon as you get to the grass is when they call you out. But I like that look.
I'm with you. I think it looks sharp. A little pop up into right. Boy, Homer Bailey's just pitching one outstanding game. Reds need to get him some runs.
the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
Stay in Reds history brought to you by Geico. 1978, 40 years ago today, Pete Rose singles off of Braves' Phil Niekro and extends his National League record hitting streak to 44 games. The streak would end the very next day and is the closest anyone has ever come to Jolton Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak, which still stands the test of time.
Scooter Gennett, a ground out on the first pitch from Boyd here in the 7th. Man, I remember it. I know there are a lot of you out there that feel the same way. That Rose hitting streak was just unbelievable to follow. And boy, I was so bummed out that night that thing came to an end. You know, every game wasn't on television back in those days, but Channel 5, the old TV home of the Reds, they started to pick up those games once that hitting streak had reached, I think it was 40, and they were doing as many as they could. And gosh, was that exciting.
I can still remember that changeup that Gene Garber dropped on Rose. I thought it was so unfair.
No doubt about it.
Then I decided to learn a changeup.
Well, you threw a good one.
That was my fastball you're talking about.
Well, you threw that well, too.
Wasn't Pete mad that he thought that they weren't throwing him strikes? They weren't pitching to him because they wanted to stop the streak. So he was swinging at balls out of the zone. Not that he didn't do that first place. He was a good bad ball hitter as well.
That was just such a. I remember the first time I ever went to New York City is when he broke the National League record. And a friend of mine lived down the street. His family was from New York, so he had asked me to come along with him, and boy, it was so exciting. There's a fly ball to center, and it just so happened to be when the Reds were in town playing the Mets, and you can imagine New York City, right? I mean, the media capital of the world, and here comes Pete Rose and the Cincinnati Reds on this hit streak in hot pursuit of Jolton Joe DiMaggio. It was awesome. Got a knock in every game. A lot of Reds fans here tonight. We were talking about that between innings. You know, the Reds caravan goes as far north coming up towards this way. You know, you get into Toledo, and Toledo is where you start to see a sort of division. A lot of Tigers fans, because it's only about an hour drive, maybe a little bit less if you're really scooting down the road. And, you know, there's some Cleveland fans here in Toledo, and then there's still some Reds fans. But you go a little bit south of there, and you're getting down into Lima. And, Chris, that's always been one of the big stops on the Reds caravan. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, you have been a semi-regular on Lima radio for the better part of 20 years.
Yeah, with WIMA in Lima land. I've been calling in to talk to Todd Walker and a couple of the other morning show hosts
That's a big
every
league show.
Wednesday for, I mean, basically forever. We've had a great time doing it, and I love Lima.
That is a big league show.
Sometimes that call comes pretty early in the morning when we're out on the West Coast. Rings about 4:40 a.
Well, I tell you what, on top of his game here in the PM hours is Mr. Boyd. Cast AI powered by AWS.
Trying to help you understand the game, and that fastball turned around by Goodrum. An exit velocity of 98.6. That's not all that high. He got the perfect trajectory right there just to get it out of the ballpark, and that is the only run on the board here in this game tonight.
Well, not only is it the only run of the game for either team, it is the only hit against Homer Bailey. They've had just 2 base runners. The other was a 2-out walk in the 5th. Swing and a miss. Boy, Bailey has everything working here tonight. We've seen at times the fastball, we've seen the splitter, we've seen the breaking ball. He's been really good. Two and two on the aforementioned Nico Goodrum. He'll be followed by Martinez and then Candelario. Two balls, 2 strikes. Long look in by Bailey, and now going to work on Goodrum. Breaking ball that hung up there a little bit, fouled back.
He'll go with the splitter.
And here it comes. And again fouled off. Guess that's a big league play. I didn't see it. But a big round of applause for that fella. And a tip of the cap. Brought his glove with him. Let's take a look. Look at our camera guys following the foul ball. Oh! How about that? The big man. Extended at bat here for Goodrum. And the 3-2. Hooked and caught. Leaping into the air by Votto.
Yeah, it took 9 pitches to finally get him, but it ends up on this line drive leaping grab by Votto.
You know, they were replaying, while we were replaying the catch by Votto, here on the scoreboard at Comerica Park, they were replaying the fan catch made a second ago. And you know, it's interesting, the more you sat there and looked at it, whoever he's here with in the game, they had gone to get something to drink or whatever the case may be. They're not sitting with him. He's by himself right now, but you can see some other spots have people that are sitting around him. But he's the only one there and makes a play like that. That's too bad.
See, just goes to show you, don't leave your seat.
That's right. Till the end of a half inning. 2-0 on Martinez. 82 pitches for Homer. Tack on one more as that's dropped foul and out of play by Martinez. And now I don't know if those are his kids, but now they're back and they missed him make that kind of play. Not only did they miss him make the play, they missed all the replays of him making the play.
You know, they have monitors inside.
Yeah.
And maybe while they were in the concession line, they looked up and said, is that Dad just made that great catch?
You might be right. Of course, he may not have any idea who those people are. I mean, he might not. I'm just, throwing it out there. 2-2 the count. Milwaukee and the Dodgers will get together later tonight. Milwaukee beating Los Angeles last night. Hader the win out of the Brewers bullpen. Popped up. Irvin didn't see it, it looked like initially. Now comes on to get it. The first two set down by Homer Bailey here in the 7th inning. Of course, with playing by American League rules tonight, we're not going to run into a spot where you have to hit for Bailey. I mean, he is cruising here tonight. 85 pitches, 2 outs into the 7th inning.
If you're playing a National League game, he would either be first or second up when the Reds bat in the top of the 8th.
First pitch fastball at 95 miles per hour at the knees. Strike one on Candelario, who is fouled out to third and struck out.
Yeah, the 3 left-handers that you've seen in the Dodger lineup or in the Tiger lineup tonight are all switch hitters. Interesting, they don't have one true left-handed hitter in this lineup. Another great catch. That young lady snagged a little backhand.
And her little one's here with her. Man. How sweet is that? And he gave her the thumbs up. Sitting not too far away. That's general area over there to the third base side. Here it is. You'll see the backhand. A little dark, but look at that. Well done. Couple of Gold Glovers here tonight. That was the 88th pitch of the game thrown by Bailey. And here comes the 1-2, a breaking ball that Candelario does not chase. Reds will have Dixon, Hamilton, Peraza against Boyd in the 8th inning. It's a 1-0 Detroit game on a solo home run from Nico Goodrum in the 4th. And gone swinging is Candelario. 5 of those tonight for Homer Bailey. He's allowed 1 hit, yet he trails 1-0. All right, gentlemen, look forward to catching up with you here shortly. Yes, indeed, 1-0 game as the Reds bat in the 8th inning against Boyd. Reds have 4 hits. 3 of them came in the 4th and 5th innings, including the one big missed opportunity. They've had 2 of them actually in the game. They had a runner at third with 1 out in the 2nd inning. And Barnhart hit a little pop fly to short center. Reds took a gamble sending Suarez to the plate, who was thrown out there by Jacoby Jones. And then in the 4th inning, a misread as a base runner by Phillip Urban, who was at second on a double off the right field wall by Votto. Urban would only advance on the double 90 feet. There's a liner knocked down at short, then the throw from his backside by Iglesias. Beautifully done.
Boy, did he make that look awfully easy. Very talented player overall, great defender. He thought he had it at first, but as soon as it came out of his glove. And you know Dixon's running hard just in case.
Reds are going up there hacking early and often in this game. We're 1 out into the 8th inning, and Mr. Boyd is only throwing his 94th pitch of the night.
You're probably wondering, all right, has he ever been in this territory before? I mean, late in the ball game, 1-0 lead, on the verge of maybe throwing a complete game 1-hit shutout. And the answer to that is yes. He beat the Chicago White Sox, where he gave up only 1 hit, no runs. Of course, the score of that game was 12-0. That was back in September of last year.
Yeah, he was flirting around with a no-hitter in that one. 1 out away from a no-hitter in that game was Boyd.
That was a game in which he pitched 121 pitches. Yeah, the game could go upside down for him if he walks Billy Hamilton. And he's probably telling himself that right now. Do not walk this fast guy. You know, the interesting thing I'm looking at here with Matthew Boyd, Tom, and I think I'm wondering if the general managers are gathering their scouts around the TVs right now saying, this guy's on the verge of throwing a 1-hit shutout against a major league team. 4-hit shutout, excuse me. He has not thrown a pitch tonight faster than 90 miles per hour. That's his top. Most of his fastballs are around 88 to 90. And if you want to roll that back into the old-fashioned days when they used to use the radar gun, he's throwing the ball about 84 miles an hour.
Throwing 100th pitch of the game, and it swung on and fouled out of play. Well, you brought up a name in between innings saying, you know, maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea. Heck, you know, maybe you stumble into whoever Louisville is tonight, that maybe Cody Reed could trip across watching this kind of a game.
I just think the emphasis, once you get signed, you know, the velocity gets you signed somehow. But once you get signed, hitters don't care how hard you're throwing unless you're Aroldis Chapman throwing 104. I mean, anything between, you know, 93 and 98 is hitting speed.
And perhaps that explains why there have been some troubles tonight hitting at 90 or 88 or 89.
I think the fact he's able to throw the ball where he wants to, inside the right-handers, got a nice combination of breaking pitches.
Hamilton hanging in there. He's fouled away 4 straight payoff pitches. Coming off the face mask of his catcher. Or maybe he got him in the shoulder instead. Yeah, it looked like more the shoulder area. Boy, that hurts. We've talked about really that yeah, there is some padding there, but it's not much.
Well, he wants to not be a distraction, take any time away, break up the rhythm of his pitcher right now. So even if he's hurting, he's going to get down and give a sign.
Again to 3-2, and Billy wanting timeout after a lengthy look in. I mean, you got to believe it's just a fastball right down the middle and daring Hamilton to try and do something with it, but we'll see. They chased a fastball nowhere near the strike zone. 7 strikeouts now for Boyd and 2 away in the 8th. Peraza has popped up 3 times, twice to the left side of the infield, the other time to short center.
He's hit more pop-ups to the infield tonight than Joey Votto has done in 3 years.
And here's another one.
Make
if
it
the
5
infielder
years.
catches it, this is short right field. And the Reds are gone in order. 12 in a row retired by Boyd. Topping country singer Jake Owen will be performing a live concert on the field Saturday, August the 11th. That's after a Saturday night game with the Diamondbacks. So come on down, check out one of country music's hottest acts. Purchase your tickets at Reds.com now. August the 11th, Saturday night. Be there. That's a nice homestand with Arizona coming in, Cleveland coming in. A couple of teams that are very, very much in the hunt for big dates in October. Homer Bailey has been spectacular here tonight. That's the only word to describe it. He has allowed 1 hit, and that was a solo home run back in the 4th inning by Nico Goodrum. One of just 2 base runners that Bailey has allowed all night. The other a 2-out walk to McCann in the 5th. Fastball sails high, 3 balls and no strikes.
Well, I would imagine the leash on Homer, even with an American League setup here, they're going to be very short here. They had a couple of extended at bats in the last inning. Goodrum and then Martinez had long at bats before he was able to get Candelario out. There's a lefty-righty combo, Peralta and Lorenzen.
Three balls and 2 strikes on Hicks. McCann to follow, then the shortstop Iglesias, 6, 7, 8 in the batting order. You're looking ahead of the Cincinnati 9th. It's a part of the order. Irvin, Votto, Suarez. Anybody reaches, it would be Scooter Gennett. And you got to believe they're going to get Boyd. Saw the bullpen busy earlier, and the bullpen's busy now, but I don't know about you, Chris, but I'd be stunned if they did not give Boyd a chance to finish this game. Would you be?
Well, I would be stunned as well. He's had 111 pitches, or 105 pitches, 70 of those strikes.
Although he sort of looked like he was sitting down there laughing about what somebody said sitting next to him. Base hit center field by Hicks. McCann is grounded to third and drawn a walk.
You know, I know that there are more than one in the Reds organization right now that are thinking, as they watch Matthew Boyd shut down the Reds tonight on 4 hits and no runs, is that he could have easily been a Cincinnati Red. In fact, the Reds drafted him when he was a junior at college at Oregon State University.
Good play. Really nice play. Suarez got such a great jump on that ball and didn't even have to leave his feet to get it.
Well, you're already charging because the batter is up there ready to drop down a bunt. So you're moving towards home plate anyway. You just take a little different route when the ball goes foul. So good job by Suarez. A little ground ball right here. Gets Bailey right out of it. But going back to that comment about him going to Oregon State University, the Reds drafted him in the 13th round as a junior. And normally when you're a junior in college, you're probably going to sign because all of your leverage is gone when you become a senior. Well, he went back to school, graduated, and that's when the Toronto Blue Jays took him. Instead of in the 13th round, they took him in the 6th round, and he signed with the Blue Jays.
And we mentioned earlier, if you weren't with us, he came over when the Tigers traded David Price away.
Mm-hmm.
But Bailey paying a lot of attention over there to Hicks. I mean, if there's one guy maybe on the planet that won't be running, at least you wouldn't suspect unless they have a little hit and run going here, it would be the guy running over at first base. One attempt all year long, and that was probably a botched hit and run where he was thrown out. I mean, how good has Bailey been? 2 hits, 1 walk. Only 4 Tigers all night have even gone to a 3-ball count. Foul ball after foul ball here from Iglesias. Double play ball here. Have to make it quick, and Iglesias able to leg it out. 2 away in the inning, and a runner at first. Well, Danny Darwin going to come out before the number 9 hitter comes to the plate with 2 outs in the 8th inning. Maybe you saw something from the dugout.
Well, whatever he said to Danny Darwin, Darwin thought it was kind of funny.
He might have looked at him and said, yeah.
He said, hey, Danny, did you hear what Tom Brenneman said up there? What are you doing out here now?
I think Homer's a big boy. He can handle it himself. We call it Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing. 30 minutes before the start of every game. Tomorrow is an afternoon game. So Reds Live Eastern Time gets underway at 12:30. Big Sal Romano. He's thrown the ball well last couple of times out. Very, very well. See if he can continue that. Mike Fiers, been around for a while and having a good year for these Tigers. 7-6 ERA, right around 3.5. And here's Gerber, who is lined to center and struck out. One and oh, the count on Gerber. And maybe there was a reason he came out. Irvin trying to get to it. They're going to wave around the runner. And Irvin misses a cutoff man. That's a huge hit.
Had a little excuse me hit, looked to right, hit it to left, right down the left field line. And boy, Irvin's got to go a long way. He's playing him in shallow. We didn't see exactly what happened down there in the corner, but when he does get rid of it, he misses the first cutoff man. I'm not so sure they get him anyway. But a very unfortunate couple of base hits in this inning, and that makes it a 2-run lead.
And that is the first major league hit and run batted in for Gerber. They just brought him back up today. We talked about it earlier after they made the deal with Martin. So he gets a big round of applause from the crowd here. I don't know. I said it ahead of time, and I'll say it again. And look, Danny Darwin's forgotten more pitching than I'll ever know, and maybe it's something that came up. When you're throwing the ball like Bailey's throwing the ball here tonight, I'm letting this guy just run. And I'm not suggesting for a second, because Chris, as you pointed out, I mean, I'm not going to call it a lucky base hit because I've never bought much into that. You either hit it or you didn't. But he clearly was looking to jerk the ball to right field and he hit it to left field.
Well, I mean, if you make a bad pitch and a guy hits it in the gap, it's not. That's when you tip your hat. But when you make a good pitch, and a guy flares one down the line, you just kind of throw your hands up. That's baseball for you.
Strike 3 will end the inning, but a huge run for the Tigers, and Bailey is really upset. 2-0, we go to the ninth. And you can only do it during the game. In the Kroger bleachers, $10 for a ticket for the series against Arizona and or Cleveland. That's on the next homestand. That's a savings of up to $8 a ticket. Go to Reds.com/FS Ohio and get in on this great ticket offer. Homer Bailey pitched one whale of a ball game here tonight. Reds missed a couple of chances early on, had a runner at third in the second inning and a little pop-up by Barnhart. Suarez was thrown out of the plate. Irvin a misread on a double by Votto. That was with one out in the fourth inning. Votto doubled into right field, but Irvin only advanced 90 feet. You see him stand there going back to the bag, and that ball clearly flying over the head of Castellanos out of right field. Suarez would strike out with one out. And the Reds ended up leaving the bases loaded. They've only had a single by Herrera leading off the fifth. That was their last base runner. And now they're facing the closer of these Tigers.
Yeah, not the all-star that we talked about earlier, Joe Jimenez, but this is Shane Green. Green, former New York Yankee. He was drafted, brought up with them. He's been pretty good here in the ninth inning, closing out games, 21 out of 24. Getting just about a strikeout per inning.
Well, Boyd really pitched a lot like this during the entire month of June and has not been very good ever since then. So they have to feel pretty good, real good, in fact, about the way he threw tonight. And the Reds certainly have to feel very good about the way now Homer Bailey is thrown in his two starts. He strikes out 6. He walks only 1. Allows 2 runs earned on 3 base hits in 8 solid innings, which could be a complete game tonight. Boy, is that a big run. This ball is hammered into right center field off the bat of Urban. And he's getting up with a 3-base hit to start the inning. That ball just died out there in that very deep corner of right center field, and a good start to the Reds' ninth. You can hear a lot of Reds fans in attendance here tonight.
Boy, Irvin just takes this pitch the other way, just stays behind it, and that ball just jumps off his bat. So now the big run producing part of the Reds order coming up.
Now, of course, we will not know until after the game. You know, maybe Boyd went to his manager and said, I'm gassed. We have no idea. But golly day, you retired the last 12 batters you faced, and there wasn't a single ball even hit hard. Even the last base hit the Reds had, Herrera's was just a little flare into center field. The last hard hit ball until that one was Votto's double to right all the way back in the 4th inning. Twelve straight retired by Boyd, and he gets the hook. And the first batter for the Reds against a reliever triples. And now 2 balls and a strike to Votto. Challenged him with a fastball at 94 there, and Votto fouls it off.
Looks like Green's got the fastball cutter combination that he uses mostly against left-handers. So use that cutter on the inner part of the plate, tried to run that fastball up and away.
Liner caught. Leonvato defended perfectly there. That was normally a line drive into center field. And the shortstop Iglesias there, and still at third is Urban, and still the tying run comes to the plate. And the Reds' leading home run hitter, Eugenio Suarez, has 24 of them. Suarez digging in. Runner at third with one out. Reds are down to their final 2 outs of this night. And it's high, ball one.
You know, the other thing you notice about tight ball games in the very last part of the game, that strike zone begins to shrink a little bit. The umpires are not nearly as likely to start calling those pitches on the corner strikes because they don't want to become part of the game. They want the hitters to make the game happen.
Off the end of the bat, a fly ball to right. Urban will tag. Here comes a throw to the plate. And he's safe. So the Reds are on the board on a sac fly by Suarez, his 81st run of the year batted in. But the Reds are down to their final out.
Well, up steps to the plate a guy that has done it already many times this year, including in the All-Star game. Hitting a home run with 2 out to tie it up.
Scooter Gennett, 17 home runs on the year. He's delivered so many big hits. Does he have a game-tying long one in him right now? Ball one away. This is a good crowd here tonight. Here you have a Tuesday night where they were talking about nothing but rain, and nearly 25,000 here. For a Tigers team that's 17 games under 500. But a lot of Reds fans have made the trip in tonight. Now Green falls behind 2-0.
Looks clear that if Green is going to give something up to Gennett, he's going to make him hit it the other way.
Two balls, no strikes. They set up away again. The Scooter comes up empty. Strike two.
Little backdoor cutter right there. That's a bread and butter pitch for Green. Looks like it's a ball coming in, and at the very last second just cuts right banging back and catches the edge.
Reds with 5 base hits, but 2 of them have come in this 9th inning when they're on the board for the first time. 2-2 on Gennett, down a run. Game over. Tigers a 2-1 winner. As Boyd out pitches Bailey, although Homer pitched a dandy here tonight. Green the save. 2-1 The final score.